You're watching The State of the Nation, and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X, as ever, is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdulkadir. Daktari, I was on you before we went on a break. Yes,
absolutely. First of all, we've talked about NATCO and NATCO 10-point agenda. You know, this thing was signed in March
2023.
Yes. Yeah. And it's been so long. So most Kenyans have actually forgotten what NATCO 10-point agenda was. I think it will be fair for me to read quickly so that we are all on the same page, those who are watching us. And the first point was full implementation of the NATCO report, inclusivity in governance and public life, protection and strengthening of devolution, safeguarding the right to peaceful assembly and petitioning civil liberties, fight against corruption and public resource wastage, addressing national debt, burden and public finance reforms, protection and promotion of sovereignty of the people, rule of law, and constitutionalism, enhancing youth livelihoods, women empowerment, and economic investment. And you should read the Gen Z protest in point number 8 there. Ethical leadership and integrity in public life, chapter 6 of our values, equitable allocation of resources to counties and oversight of governance for all sections of society. And that brings me to the point that, that you said that 10 points is too much. But I think this is exactly what Kenyans need today, what Kenya needs today. And this was the dream of Right Honorable Raila Odinga and all the other national leaders who signed this program. So I think it is just the right time that as I said, part of honoring the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is that we follow through with the implementation of this 10-point agenda. It's extremely important. But on our previous conversation, we generally talked about the direction ODM is taking in terms of joining and partnering with the government. And I think it's important not to lose a very important point where now, largely objectively, ODM is heading towards partnering with William Ruto and forming the next government, or being part of the next government, as the good professor has said. But with the demise of Right Honorable Odinga, within ODM, we seem to be forgetting the fact that there is commotion. I think we should not ignore that. There are a lot of rise of small regional powers across the country, the coast, Nyanza, Western. And so this is a very risky situation in the sense that, you know, if you remember Ford, I think Professor remembers that. You might be too young to remember that.
Split.
Yes. There was Ford Kenya. Ford was founded on the fact that, you know, we change things for the better, for liberation of this country. But it ended up splitting into Ford Asili, Ford Kenya, Ford whatever. So there is a very high risk, even for ODM itself, although the overall agenda and objective is very good, but there could be a very high risk of splitting groups into regional groups, like ODM Coast, you know, ODM Western, ODM Nyanza. And so what ODM needs to focus on right now is to make sure that there's internal cohesion, that should not be happening. And there are a lot of, you know, regional brokers who can really split this good party into some smaller, less effective splinter groups. But if it holds, then our argument on the fact that that they are likely to form the next government or be part of the next government is very, very legit and very reasonable and very likely. But this is the big question we need to ask: is ODM going to hold? And I think the right person probably to answer is the professor. But that's very important.
Let me just have a go first. I want to say that that NADCO 10-point agenda was beheaded by His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, as appointed by Raila Odinga, and was co-chaired together with Kimani Ichung'wah, you know, coming from the side of the government. And I want to say that that's a very, very important thing. And later on, it even formed part of the other deal with UDA. Again, it was 10-point agenda. And quite a number of laws be amended. You know, we are discussing the Election Act in the JLAC committee, where Professor Ojenda also leads. And if you see carefully, and I really want to appreciate Dr. Oburu Odinga, the senator for Siaya. He's been leading this party in the right direction. He's giving the party the right mood. And he's coming out strong. You can see he has said, if we have to go for a lower position, meaning ODM can also have a presidential candidate. But he says, if we have to go below president, then it must not be lower than number 2 or deputy president. In any formation, whatever formation, meaning they can also work with Kalonzo Musyoka, they can also work with William Ruto. Whatever formation they end up to. That is my take, he says so. We should not take less than that. And I believe ODM deserves that. Raila Odinga was never going to take anything short of president. This party is very key in fighting for democracy in this country, fighting for fairness. If you listen to the chair, Honorable Gladys Wanga, who we had an opportunity to serve within the National Assembly before she became governor, and she's coming out strong also. She's of the same opinion. And she says, we will be in a coalition in the next government, meaning there's no other day now. ODM will stay out of government. And the reason is, ODM comes in with very strong numbers, many members of parliament. And that's what helps, because for you to be president, you must know how to deal with the House.
In a winning coalition, not a coalition.
Yes, he said in a winning coalition.
Winning.
Meaning if Kalonzo Musyoka wins the presidency.
Not in that coalition.
Wait. Hold on, I gave you your time. Supposing Kalonzo Musyoka wins the presidency, ODM has a very good working relationship. And in fact, Kalonzo Musyoka will win the presidency. So ODM is going to support Kalonzo Musyoka.
So your party leader has supported the late Prime Minister twice in presidential contest. 2013 under Code, 2017 under NASA.
As a deputy.
2022, both as running mates, and 2022 as part of course, the principles that who made up Azimio. Yes. Do you think it's time to now extend or pay back that favor politically?
Well, it is one of the things ODM leadership is suggesting. That's why they are saying, whoever takes power, we will be with them if we don't take the power ourselves. And we have got a very good working relationship with ODM. That's why today, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka is in Nyanza. That's why he's going to be with the family. If we had not had such a good relationship, most probably our followers will not bother much, but you can see the sacrifice they've made. And the love of Raila Odinga. You saw it in Kitui. You know, when there was Mashujaa Day, the main Shujaa was Raila Odinga. So what Raila stood for is going to push this country for some time.
Okay. Yes, Prof.
Yes, Ayub, just two things. Of course, one is that we welcome, and that I must say, Vice President Emeritus Kalonzo Musyoka to the Nyanza region and to Bondo to condole with the family of Raila Odinga. He was there at the burial. I attended the burial. We were with him. He spoke. And it is a good gesture that today he takes 500 members of the opposition, Wiper and other members, to the graveside of Raila Odinga in honor of the great man of this nation, of this continent. And I think we are all there to witness that this country is one and that everyone is free to attend a burial or to move from one end of the country to another. That is the show of national unity and the recognition that we are a people. And that's an important point.
And should that include the former Deputy President,
and that should include, yes, very, very welcome to visit the graveside of Raila Odinga and to move and to campaign anywhere in this country. That's an important point. That it is through that coalition and working together as a people and as a nation that we will meet the ideals espoused by the Constitution of Kenya 2010. But let me say this, that in as much as my friend and learned friend and senator and colleague Manzo says that ODM could work with any coalition, ODM will only be in a coalition that will win the election. ODM will not try coalitions that will not win an election. In my understanding, the Kalonzo Musyoka outreach, the Wiper Democratic Movement, can only win an election if he joins the working coalition of ODM and UDA, William Ruto. He joins William Ruto, who will get a second term. Then we will be on the same page. So advise your party leader in good time to come home so that we work on this coalition and deliver this country, because William Ruto will do a second term.
But Senator, Senior Counsel,
yes,
hang on.
Yes.
No one in this set or watching this broadcast has the prophetic skill to foresee what will happen in 2027. But then you talked about coalition. Coalitions are certainly political parties that conglomerate. Ideally, whilst your party remains the constant factor of that equation, how sure are you then that the president will get a second term, and why do you rule out a Kalonzo Musyoka presidency?
I do not rule out a coalition including Kalonzo Musyoka that will go into an election as a grand coalition. That I don't rule out. I don't even rule out the possibility of a coalition including a coalition that even may mirror or include the former Deputy President Gachagua. You may be in any formation. That I don't rule out. What I rule out, is the possibility of William Ruto losing the election. That with the formation that I see and the broad-based arrangement that there is between William Ruto and ODM, I foresee ODM and UDA working together for 2027. And it is in that formation that I see the possibility of having Kalonzo Musyoka as well in that coalition, because it is a possibility. Politics changes each day, each night, each moment, each minute. It is a transitional period. And we said, once Raila Odinga left the political scene, any formation is possible. It is that possibility, and it is in line of that possibility that I say that the ideal is ODM in government or forming government, including Wiper. If Wiper wants to be in government, let us also come to a formation that will win the election. But it is not. It is idle for Senator Manzo to create a possibility that Kalonzo Musyoka would win an election outside the framework of the ODM UDA political coalition.
What is not possible?
Why it is not possible? Ayub, I look at the numbers. I look at the numbers. The numbers, Ayub, of ODM, UDA in that coalition. There's no way Kalonzo Musyoka, even if he joined Gachagua, would win an election.
Okay, but okay, Dr.
Ayub, I think what Professor has essentially said is true, but what we should know is that if we have a coalition of William Samoei Ruto and including ODM to form the government, and you ask Kalonzo to join, Kalonzo has already been in the second position in this country. So what is it there for Kalonzo to be? He has already been a vice president. The way it is looking right now, top position is going to be taken by William Ruto, second likely taken by ODM, or somebody from ODM. And Kalonzo joins as what? As a cabinet secretary? How does he come into the government? Even though there is a very high possibility if Kalonzo joins, it's almost automatic that that coalition will win. But knowing Kalonzo Musyoka, I think that is not going to be acceptable. But let me just tell you that the exit of Raila Odinga has left a big hole in the opposition. And I think since somehow, and Manzo will disagree with me, somehow Kalonzo Musyoka was in the shadows of Honorable Raila Odinga over the last 3 elections. I think this is the right moment to define himself as a very strong opposition leader. And I think that's where I see he fits very well. What that do to central Kenya, it knocks out all these noises coming from Mount Kenya, regarding Gachagua and his team. You just sort them out. But I think this is the moment. Even he can fashion himself for 2032. But right now, what Kalonzo can do is to really fashion himself as has been done by Raila Odinga in the past, fashion himself as the strongest, most visible opposition leader, while UDA and ODM continue to partner. Mm-hmm. So will that coalition of ODM and UDA alone win? Very highly possible.
Yeah.
And Kalonzo Musyoka can run for presidency, which now will make him a default, if this other coalition wins, a default opposition leader. And I think that's where he fits very well.
Can I just, before Manzo, Ayub, there's one thing that I just wanted to add, and that is the performance of the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, that he has outperformed himself in the last 1 year. And I think that is what makes the equation difficult, or the views, or some of these views, tricky. Because you're talking about ODM taking a second position, where there's a performer, you already have Professor Kindiki outshining himself, doing so well in deputizing the president as contemplated by Article 131 of the Constitution, doing his job as the deputy president as a true assistant to the president. Remember, the president, and that is why the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, was impeached, and we have various positions in court. I think we're in court, he's in court, we are arguing against each other. That one, of course, we will win. But the point is that we must praise Kindiki, and Kindiki fits that, he fits that position of deputy president.
Which then knocks out your
that is the point. I think that is the difficulty.
And that's why I want to come in.
Yes.
That's why I want to come in.
And Senator Mazo, before you come in, just a reminder, Senior Counsel, you included the odds were against Dr. William Ruto in 2022 and he ended up winning the presidency. So you don't rule out any political entity.
I don't know. I am that one. I am sure. Let us meet here in 2027. But William Ruto will win the election. That one.
Yes, I agree with you.
Let me say that the matrix of the Deputy President Kindiki it complicates the presence of ODM in the broad-based coalition. And that's why Oburu Odinga is very keen and careful, together with Wanga, what they are saying. They are saying whatever happens, we will always now be incumbent. We are not going to stay in opposition again. And that's what I'm saying. If the broad base is to go into election 2027 the way things stand now, and in absence of Raila Odinga, then it means you'll have William Ruto, then Kindiki as a deputy president, and probably now ODM goes to third position, which is what they don't want. And therefore ODM are welcome to work with Kalonzo Musyoka. They are home. And therefore, as we go to 2027, there will be a lot of views. And what I can assure our agenda is that, unfortunately, President William Ruto has beaten himself in his own game. As much as he's tried to please Kenyans, he had really messed up in the first year and second year, and he has not recovered from the high cost of living. He has not recovered from the killings. He has not addressed the abductions and the killings. Well, you know, yesterday, both of us had raised questions to Murkomen in Parliament, and the agenda, you know, I had a question on that, and I had a question on that. And if you look at the answers, there is really no way forward how you are going to deal with the killings, the abductions, the criminal activities around government, including the latest killings and tear gas in presence of the body of Raila Odinga at Kasarani. That has not yet been addressed. So Kenyans are still very unhappy with William Ruto. And it's not making them happy any day.
Yeah.
And in fact, and I will not allow Kalonzo Musyoka to join William Ruto at all.
Okay.
Even if Kalonzo Musyoka was to join William Ruto, ODM and William Ruto, Kenyans will still reject them.
Okay, but Senator, you and Professor Ujenda are privileged to sit in a house that was granted enormous constitutional powers. The president aside, because he has no prosecutorial powers, for instance, they're invested in institutions. Why not then censure the interior CS for the killings that are unabated of Kenyans? You included.
The leader of the country is President William Ruto.
But Parliament can take the initiative to take action against the minister who is in charge, isn't it?
You saw Murkomen doing his level best. The people disobey Murkomen and going on to kill people at Kasarani. Very unfair, you know.
Other than the
he was actually described as running around like a headless chicken.
What I'm raising, the point I'm raising, and to you, Professor, and still on you, Honorable Manzo, and let's substantively also explore this matter, is there were killings in numbers since June 2024 and in the aftermath of the demonstrations. This has continued. If you look at what the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has documented alongside other bodies, Kenyans still missing in Uganda. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is dead silent. What is Parliament's role in this case, Prof?
Let me, I could weigh in, and I could weigh in as a member of the Committee on Security and International Relations of Senate. I have noted from the headlines today that there are 26 Kenyans, over 26 or 30, in the war between Russia and Ukraine, in fact, in the front lines. And we then have, of course, Kenyans out there, I think.
Actually, total 83 Kenyans in Russia.
83.
If you look at page 7,
yes, I can see
there's different breakdown. You have the Belgrade, Istra, St. Petersburg, Rostov, and unknown, so which total up to 83. 83
Kenyans. Yeah. Two things. Let me also mention Kenyans who cannot be traced in Tanzania. We have the elections that have occurred in Tanzania with many deaths that have occurred, and there are Kenyans who have also lost lives in Tanzania. We also have Kenyans out there, as you've mentioned, in Uganda and elsewhere who cannot be traced. I think there are two obligations. One, there's the entire, and let us just look at the prolegomena. We have the point of exit, of course, porous borders defining this country, and the possibility of Kenyans existing through either the Somalia, Busia, and other exits. But this then calls upon the role of the National Police Service as defined by Article 244 of the Constitution. We need to have a closer tightening, ensure control, internal control, so that's, of course, internal security, CS Murkomen, and this PS Raymond Omolo, ensuring that we have a framework that does not allow Kenyans to just travel. So those travel controls, we look at that, because the government realizes usually that there are Kenyans when they are in trouble out there, either in Saudi as house helps or in Qatar and elsewhere, are detained and wanting to come back. That's a problem. Then now the government's role then kicks in. Under the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, 1963, government has an obligation to protect its citizens. Of course, then the other 4 conventions, Vienna Conventions on War, define what obligations are to citizens out there. Ayub, government can only act through embassies out there to protect the interests of these Kenyans. But at times when the government is unaware that Kenyans are out there, it is very difficult and a challenge to government in terms of resources, even in terms of knowledge alone, to know that there are 83 Kenyans. On the war front, some have lost their lives. At least the ones in Haiti we know because they exited through a framework, though he falls the framework, a framework that went to keep international peace and that has defined Kenya as international player.
And our courts rejected it.
Yes, but lastly, let me say this, that the call is on the ministry to ensure that we have proper documentation of Kenyans out there. And those who are in dire straits should be assisted to come back through our embassies out there. And that's a delicate framework, because then we also have to avail resources through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ensure that our embassies out there deal with all these issues.
Prof, still back to the point. Dr. just hang on for a moment. Yes, of course, the embassies should be the point of coordination. But the house you sit is so privileged, you and Honorable Dan Manzo and the lawmakers. Kenyans granted you that power. In 2024, the bicameral setup impeached the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. Today, what we know, other than these 83 Kenyans, senior counsel is still on you, is we have proper documentation of Kenyans who were killed, their names, the next of kin, how they were killed, autopsies clearly showing. The Ministry of Interior has not been straightforward with answers. Murkomen came to the House yesterday, of course, but then we can't be lamenting all together. Lamentations of a broken nation. What can then Parliament do?
Can I just defend Senator Murkomen, in this case CS Interior? At least he acquitted himself. He responded to the question that I had asked about Gen Zs who lost their lives. The total of documented was 46 in the framework that was provided, including those in Oslo. 233 were injured during the June 24th fracas that led to invasion of Parliament by the Gen Zs. Of course, a transformation that led to a new government and the coalition agreement, now broad-based, between ODM, UDA, and a new transformation that then brought in experts into government and brought a better governance system, in my view. Now, let me say this, that CS Murkomen then explained what government then did. Remember the exit of the IG that time. The IG exited. We have a new IG who has transformed the police with new deputy IGs. A great performer. We have DIG Langata out there. We have Masengeli who has outperformed himself. So let us also acknowledge that we have a new face within the police cadres, and they have performed and they are performing to ensure that. And now we are going to have a recruitment over 10,000 policemen on 27th, from Monday, to ring fence and ensure that we have a police force that can man this country.
Okay.
So let us also say that government is also doing within what it can to ensure that we have a framework that protects Kenyans. A working police will take this country to the next level. And I'm sure that there's already, we had those little court cases that were resolved by Judge Wasilwa. Now we have the IG directly involved.
Thank you.
And the North National Police Service in the recruitment.
Prepare up that point for final, take off, Senator Mazo. Dr. Yes, your hand was up.
No, I echo the same views as the senator. But our biggest problem is really not whether the government is doing anything about security and the things that happened during the protest. I think our biggest problem is also we must voice out the fact that we have an indisciplined police force, which is mad with a lot of corruption. And what we need to do is to really retrain and capacity build our police force so that we have a better security team that's really responsible and understand how to engage and work with the public. It's very unfortunate that we have lost 46 good Kenyans, and we have had another 230 or so that have been injured during the protests. But unless we have a properly trained, capacity-built police force, I don't think that this problem will be away. There is a very likelihood that also, because a lot of the sentiments of the Gen Zs during the protest, quite a bit of it was addressed in terms of the broad-based government, skills and procurement, things that they have been agitating for. The finance bill was thrown. But every year onwards, there is a likelihood that there will be a commemoration of the Gen Z protest every June, July. Now, the chances that this will recur, an engagement between the public and the security force, is very likely. And I think despite making an effort by the president, by the government, in terms of responding to some of the issues that have caused the protest, one area we have not really done quite a bit of legwork in is to really focus on how to engage the public onwards. And I think that is very important, Senator. We can address the past, but how about the future? So for this not to recur, so that we don't lose other 46, 50, 100 Kenyans, we don't get many, many hundreds of Kenyans injured, then how do we handle this issue onwards? I think that's where the bigger question is.
Okay.
Yes, and the best way to handle this thing, although yesterday Senator CS Murkomen attempted to acquit himself, out of those statistics he gave in Parliament, some are still at Kenyatta Hospital. What are they doing about it? What did he do about the latest killings at the stadium? They did not even help these people who buried the dead, or even help those who got injured. It is Governor Songo who came to the rescue of these families. They abandoned them, and the government has a mechanism to show kindness and remorse in the event there is an error. So I'm saying there's no error. We have a government which is failing its citizens when it comes to human rights, protection of life, and that responsibility is not just with Murkomen. It started with Kindiki. And it is the president himself who must deal with this human rights issue. Otherwise, Kenyans are still very unhappy and unlikely to vote him back.
Because of the?
Because of the abuse of human rights, killings. His hands are dripping with blood. He has not done any compensation. He has not even done the basic thing to help those still in Kenyatta National Hospital. What is the government doing about
it?
This is an uncaring government, unapologetic, and does not care about human rights at all.
The government is here.
Let me just mention this. Now that let me mention this. Ayub, a framework was created by this government, gazetted under the chairmanship of Professor Makau Mutua, to compensate victims of violations. After remember, then of course there's an order that was issued by the court, temporarily stopping the framework. Now we have the Faith of the Ambo then resigned. Now we have Gladys Oganga, who was appointed last week to replace that framework. Will deal with all compensation questions, so that all the victims that is referring to are compensated. And I'm sure this government is sensitive to the needs of the citizen, to those who are injured, to the families and those who lost kin, to ensure that they are compensated within time. So I think the question of violation, and that again sticks to the 10-point agenda between ODM and UDA. Which is being implemented. Which is being implemented. Yes. We are on course to implementing all those 10-point agenda in detail, so that by 2027 we have a framework, a winning framework. And contrary to what he's saying, William Ruto will have a resounding win in 2027.
So that is subject to also what the people and how they will vote.
Yes, of course the people will vote. Yeah. And Senator Manzo has talked about all the crises, including dealing with the food crisis. The inputs that government put into production has led to a definite output. The maize production has gone high by up to 5 times because of the subsidy given to fertilizer farmers. That is a win. The housing question that was a problem, and that was both in the manifesto of ODM and UDM, has been implemented successfully. And over 2,960 houses have been completed to this day. That is an achievement of this government, and you cannot undermine that, Senator Manzo.
And senior counsel in a democracy.
You cannot undermine that.
Given that you are also a senior counsel and who understands the law and how democracy works, regardless, it's subject to how the people will vote and who they will accord the mandate, isn't it? There's no guarantee in democracy that you'll get elected or
force your way.
No, there's no forcing. Yeah. We're just talking about the return, the framework, the pulse of the people, the reaction, the regional acknowledgement of President Ruto, and what is happening, and what this government is doing for its people in every region. It is what defines and what tells me that in 2027 it shall be positive, because once you have the entire Nyanza region, Western region, Coast region, and the river region covered for President Ruto and Nairobi, it's a definite win.
Why are you looking out Central Kenya? Are they not
Kenyans? And even Central Kenya, Eastern, upper Central Kenya, Eastern Kenya will also vote for William Ruto.
What about Western?
Even Central Kenya, even Western. I think there's no other leader. There's no other leader with Kalonzo Musyoka will not say the same. Yes. Can you even say you only have votes in Kitui?
I think we are making some very fundamental assumptions that may not work. The fact that UDA and ODM will partner does not guarantee any win. That must be known. I mean, there are 2 big parties, but there are other very relevant heavy quotas that can also win.
No, UDA without Central Kenya is very weak.
So we should be very careful making those grand statements, making it look like the coalition of UDA and ODM will certainly win. But we have forgotten that we are on the State of the Nation, Ayub. And we have to go back. For us to understand why we are where we are, we have to go back slightly to where we have begun, isn't it? Yes. So, Ruto came in with a very popular slogan, the bottom-up slogan, the wheelbarrow, the hustler narrative, which was so compelling to the extent that that a lot of Kenyans were really, he created a critical mass around himself, and that's how he ended up winning. And the reason was because he focused on the very bottom mamambogas. Yeah, so he really excited the grassroots politics, President William Ruto. But within that was some major promises, major flagship projects. There was also the social changes flagship, for example, as he said, the affordable housing, the universal health, and then
food security,
and all these things. See, that was a lot of promise, political promise, but we were hit on the face by a very ambitious finance bill that actually ended up crashing. Now, how will the president finance all these promises that he has put on the table, especially through the hustler narrative that people bought very quickly? So that was really. So now, when that happened, and the finance bill crashed because of the protests, what happened is that the president could not finance all these projects, and that's why we are feeling a bit that we're not doing very well. So what the president now has started focusing on was he moved from pushing the economy and realizing the hustler narrative to trying to seek credibility and legitimacy of the government. That is now what took almost a year and a half of implementing the hustler program has delayed by 1 year and a half, because now he had to form the broad-based government, he had to re-engineer everything, and so there is that bit of delay. Then with that came the demise of a very important person, Right Honorable Odinga, which has now shaken the whole thing. So ideally, my view is that there are a lot of things that need fixing, but we must also realize that Ruto, despite what Dan Manzo has said, Senator, has really tried, because we had major challenges. I mean, this protest has really pushed us back. But as we speak today, I think our economy is doing fairly well, although it's not generally felt as it is. There is restructuring of CBR, the central bank rates. So borrowing and all these credits will be in good shape. And I think that if we continue with this path, and Ruto, as we know him, is able to muscle in significant number from Mount Kenya and Eastern, then the chances of UDA, ODM coalition winning is very, very high, and it is very likely. I do not see any other very strong coalition really forming to push back Ruto.
There is. I want to tell you that, unfortunately, the issue of fake fertilizer has never been resolved. Right now, we are facing a crisis of drought. We've been lucky. The last 2 years, there have been good rains in the country, so people worked hard. They had food. So the government currently has a very serious challenge, which is not prepared. And the most important thing is that these young people should not be ignored and should not be assumed that they don't matter. They are 70% of the voters. I am very sure most of them are waiting for when the registration will be devolved to the police stations. They will come out, register in large numbers, and participate in the next election, so that they are not forced to vote in a certain way. And I can assure you, you are saying there is no other bigger coalition. I can assure you, the united opposition is much bigger than what you think. Because what was UDA is no longer there.
It will not hold.
What is no longer there. And really, if the young people decide to take control of affairs of this country through voting, and I'm really hoping and advising them right now, let them come out in large numbers and register. That's how they will be able to participate in an election in terms of voting and also in terms of candidates. We want young candidates on the scene. You cannot become a candidate unless you are registered as a voter. And we also want them, I know it's a little bit expensive now to go to the constituency headquarters, but when it is devolved to the police stations, I am really pleading with the young people to come out and exercise, to demonstrate and do mandamano into those polling stations, registering now and during the polling area. And their dream of a new Kenya will come, and they will send Ruto packing.
Yeah, and how will that dream be all about, given the challenges that they have faced, especially as you and the senator admitted, when they are targeted deliberately by the state, and a majority of the list of people who have fallen as a result of excesses by the agencies are the same young people.
That's where the Raila spirit comes in. Raila fought very hard against such. He almost lost his life several times. He went to jail for 9 years without trial. And therefore, if Raila Odinga did it, Any other Kenyan now can do it. If the spirit of Raila lives on, and I'm sure it lives on with a lot of young people, and that's why when Raila went into coalition, they continued with the demonstrations. You see, Raila was the one organizing demonstrations. As soon as he stopped it running, yes, he was there with Kalonzo Musyoka. As soon as he stopped the 2023 demonstration, as soon as Raila Odinga stopped the demonstration, the people went on. And therefore, the spirit of Raila lives with the young people. And I'm challenging them to come out in large numbers, register as voters if they want to send Ruto home. Okay. They will send him home early in the morning. Okay.
Yes, Prof.
You know, Ayub, it is ironical that Senator Manzo, who was a living party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka,
who is a presidential candidate, don't forget,
is not referring to the party leader who is present and is trying to invoke the spirit of Raila Amolo.
It lives with the people, including Kalonzo.
That should tell you that Raila precedes Kalonzo, and that even in death, Senator Manzo is seeking for an inspiration so that the youth are led. Kalonzo, by the way, never went to jail. He was never...
He was in the demonstrations with... He was in demonstrations with...
How come he was never arrested? I think he's just trying to demonstrate the larger-than-life posture of Raila Odinga in life and now in death and the transition that we are defining. But Ayub, let me say this. For the young people, so much has been done, the incorporation into government, and Manzo is right, that young people must participate in elections. To do that, you must be a voter. And you must take some sense of responsibility so that stateless, fearless, tribeless, and all those things that they say will only count when you are registered. I would urge them during this window that has been opened by IBC, and we have a very, very competent IBC, led by a very competent new chair of IBC. They take advantage and register as voters so that in 2027 they have a platform to express their will and the will of the people as voters. And that is the transformational change that Mount is talking about. But I think as long as we see the numbers we are seeing, I'm looking at the portal of IBC
90,000 now.
And I'm seeing 90,000, that is a joke. We cannot have that lackluster attitude from the young people going to an election. Where are the young people? Why aren't they registering as voters? And they must be urged. And I think leaders, it is the challenge of leaders, both in government and in the opposition, and for parents to urge those who are above 18 to go to registration centers, take up registration as voters. And that's the only way you can participate in governance. There's no other magic.
But difficulties abound, is it, considering the problems that were itemized by the young people as well, coming to you, Daktari, especially where you come from? First, accessibility, a challenge, given the security dynamics. And second, is also the delay in the issuance of the IDs generally across the country for young people to get their cards.
I think that's a very pertinent point, Ayub. There are all those challenges. But what is really surprising to me is that, you know, the Gen Zs have been agitating for change, for inclusivity, for all these things that are in the 10-point agenda. But what is really surprising to me is that that we have IBC doing the voter registration. The president has recently lifted one of the biggest challenges in terms of ID registration, the vetting process, especially in my region. But you wonder sometimes, the Gen Zs, the young people, are very good in mobilizing when it comes to protests and demonstrations. And they come out in large numbers. Now, the only way to change some of the things they are asking for and they're agitating for is through the vote. Now, an opportunity has been given at different levels. First opportunity is that vetting has been lifted for those who are claiming that vetting has been the stumbling block. Secondly, IEBC has now opened up the continuous voter registration process. Unfortunately, the youth seem not to be very keen on these two opportunities that they have been given. That they are not taken, probably quite a number of them are not going for the IDs. The others who have ID cards who can really make a difference are not registering. And that is really demonstrated by the figures that IEBC is showing, that you have seen in every county across the country. Their voter registration numbers are dismal and very disappointing. Now, how can Gen Zs now come back and say, you know, we have not been included in this and that? The only way they can make a difference is to vote a government of their own, a government that they supported and they have put in, and include their agenda. So this is a major opportunity that they can really push forward for.
Yeah. And Senator, certainly there are hurdles, is it, bureaucratic some, and that seem to be holding back the appetite for young people to get their cards and the general giving in.
Yes, and I really want to urge the Bureau of Registration to up its game. We know there are mobile, you know, registration, you know, caravans, and also for those young people who have applied for their ID. Honestly, you should not take more than a month processing one ID. Process the IDs, you know, process the IDs quickly and release them to the young people, because a lot of them have turned now 18, they have applied, there are complaints all over that, there are delays. Let's have these IDs released now so that the young people can register. We don't want IDs to be released after 2027. I think it is the most unfortunate thing which can happen to the young people of this country. And the government has to be vigilant on this. Really, I really want to challenge Senator C.S. Murkomen to make sure the IDs, we see them in the villages, they are not there. And the ones which have been released, young people, please collect them, go and register so that you can build your nation.
Yeah, Senator, before I come to you, let's listen to the ODM party interim leader, Dr. Oburo Oginga, who spoke yesterday in Homa Bay County, and this was his clarion call to the young people.
I'm also pleading with you, my people. Last time, you did not register as it should be. And I'm urging you, registration is coming. Please, my Gen Z, my age mate, my Gen Zs, please register as voters.
Up for grabs, Senator, is it? So everybody is going for that vote, but what does the dismal number in terms of registration mean, especially for your party?
I think for me, Ayub, it signifies or points to two things. One, a possibility that certain youth are not aware that the registration process is open and is going on. Probably they do not know where to go and register. And I think that's information that should be available in every county. It's our business as leaders to ensure that we inform youth to register. Number two, and which is important, some youth do not even know that the 300 shillings that is charged for processing of identity cards has been waived. It is now being done for free. And thanks to CS Interior, whom he seems to be attacking every time, Murkomen is doing a good job. Yes, he's doing a good job. The regulations were illegal. Yes, but he is doing a good job. He has waived we have now waived the 300 shillings has now been waived. So it is for free. So you can get your ID for free. So let those who have turned 18 years go to ID register. And I think we should also, we've done this in certain schools. Even those who are leaving from 3, from 4 and are 18 years should take, once the exams are over, I'm sure there'll be many people out there registering. They should take this opportunity, register, get IDs, and become voters. Because it is important. Ayub, the transformational agenda and framework that we have within the political governance system cannot be achieved unless the vote is cast. And the youth should know that you must start from down here going up. You cannot claim a place or a seat or a place within the seat of power and control in resource allocation unless you participate through a political party and through an election. Okay. And many people sit out here thinking that noise is sufficient. No, it is not. Make noise when you have that platform. The platform is seek either an election or participate in an election by voting for a candidate.
Okay. Professor Ayub, I just want to give a rider on that. I think I understand that the youth probably may not be aware and they should be registering. But the point that we always miss is that, oh yes, an IBC was just formed recently. And I think IEBC is not up in terms of its game. You know, you can't just go to a small village or a small town, open an office, sit there and expect, you know, people to just walk in. I think they should do more than that. They should come up with a strategy to engage the community, to create awareness, to move around. They have the funding. They have been funded. They need more money, of course, but I think there is an element of IEBC not doing the right things in terms of, you see, they are now, the job of an IEBC and their mandate is not just putting in numbers and ID cards into the system. I think they should have another structure that engages the public and the community, and you know, they should go to public radios, they should go to public radios, they should go to television, they should, you know, on the print media, social media. Yeah. I think that's what they need to do, and that's why we're missing the point. Yeah,
Senator, your final words before we sample the feedback.
Yes, I just want to say that, you know, let the young people register as voters and also come out to vote. Last time, 8 million Kenyans did not vote, and I'm sure if they voted, that would have made a difference. I'm wishing Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is, you know, the best in Nyanza today. He's already on his way to Bondo with over 1,000 followers. And I believe this.
There were 500, now there are 1,000.
There are over 1,000 this morning.
And those are ODM, those are taking my people to Bondo again.
We are thankful to you that
500 are from Bondo.
Yeah, 500, yes.
So we want to wish him very well in Nyanza today.
Okay, thank you. So let's sample the feedback. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Here is what you have said on X, formerly Twitter. Ayub, tell Professor Ujenda, says Baba Michael, I'm staunch ODM member, and we have now got enough of we are in broad-based government. We now want to see the fruits of being in the broad-based government. We all know the position Raila Odinga left us is politically, okay? Let them not remind us every time. JW_Juma says the ODM party is just trying to be clever. They are in government, and unfortunately they are trying to make the public think that its supporters and the people of Luo Nyanza are also in government. It's a joke because they broad-based government. It's a unity of greed. Okelo says after the painful loss of Baba, the ODM party has no other viable option but to stay in the broad-based arrangement. However, the party leadership must find a way of fixing the disgruntlement among the ambitious youthful leaders like Babu Owino and Edwin Sifuna. Sir Nixon Dugura says, blessed are the days when we shall have political parties as well as political leaders of substance, when the interests of the electorate will be treasured so much, with the center of power being the constitution. Iposiku. Babu again says, I was very happy to watch an interview with Mr. Oburu Oginga, the ODM party leader. Is very sober in his thinking and reasoning. I wonder where other people get this sycophancy of broad-based government, making them to reason on fixed mind. He wonders. Senator, thank you so much, Prof. Many thanks appreciated. And Senator, to you too as well. Senator Danmanzo, many thanks for your time. Daktari, appreciated. And thanks to you too for waking up with us here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X as ever has been Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Up next is Cooking Tips with Safin Aching Omar. And good morning.